Well folks, it's here. Time to do the video on my first AR build. The pieces I picked, the parts I chose, why I chose them, how they're working out for me, things I like about it, things I don't, concerns as well as pros. We're gonna look at all of that today as we look at the very first build I've ever done in my very first AR. So it's my first AR and it's my first AR build for you, and all the parts and all the aspects of this gun. So let's go ahead and take a look. If you're thinking about building your first AR, what parts to look for and what parts to stay away from. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed some of that eye candy and some of that range time. We'll be running in a lot of range time throughout this video as we discuss this AR build. And really just kind of to lay the groundwork for as we go through this, you know, this being my first build. Love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments below. So if you guys have tips, ideas, or maybe, you know, throughout the video you're like, oh dude, I think you'd love this part. I love to check out stuff. I want to do a lot more reviews in the format of firearms and stuff, so that would be awesome. And we'll have as many links as possible below, not only over to Amazon for some of these parts that you can pick up there for great prices, and that always helps us. That supports us when you guys use those hyperlinks over to Amazon. We get a small kickback, helps me make videos and buy parts for firearms and guns, just like what you see here. And then we'll also have links over to many of the other manufacturers and websites that are available in the description below. So as we go through here, I want to talk about first off the two things. One is, what are you building? When you're building an AR, you really need to decide what is the purpose, the function of this gun. Is this a long-range gun or a short-range gun? And where are you going to be using it the most and training with it the most? You know, because if you can build anything and throw it in a safe, but if you never use it, or you're in a format that requires you to use it in a certain way, then to build an AR in a crazy, you know, scenario in the sense of you're throwing random parts on here and there, and you know, you have a 20 or maybe a 22-inch barrel or something, but you know, you've got a red dot on it, or you know, vice versa. I mean, you can go crazy down the line, and I've seen that sometimes with certain ARs. I'm like, wow, I don't know what that guy was thinking when he was building that gun. And so in the same way, think about how you're going to use your gun and then build it that way. So for me with this gun, I built it as a short range battle rifle. That's what I designed it to be, because one, the areas that I train, I can usually train between 25 and like 200 yards. That's about the distance that I can use this gun effectively. Beyond that, I don't have a lot of places to go for that. I really have to drive out there. It takes a lot more time. I'm going to probably shoot longer distances once or twice a year, and that's just not what I'm looking for when I was designing and, you know, thinking of the parts and building this gun. So that's something that you need to decide right away. What is the purpose of this gun? And that's going to affect the barrel length, that's going to affect the caliber, that's going to affect the optics, that's going to affect a lot of what you do when you are building your gun. So for those of you that maybe want, you know, longer distances, maybe you have tons of property, or you know, you go to the range and you have an outdoor range somewhere that offers you, you know, up to 1,000 yards or something, sweet, then go with a gun, I would say probably that's longer for sure, bigger, you know, more magnified optic. And I would probably go with a 308 and not a 5.56 223, which is what this is chambered in. So just think through that. But for me, for being a short range battle rifle and really being optimally set up for that kind of like 25 yards to 200 yards, this is what I've landed on, and this is what I'm really happy with so far in my designing and my testing and my using now for over a year, having purchased this firearm. Second is price. Why did I pick the parts that I'm about to discuss with you? Because there are parts that are way more expensive and there are parts that are way cheaper. You know, I've seen budget builds, and we'll probably eventually do a budget build where guys can do it for like $650, $700 building your own AR. I've seen guys, you know, going up into the $3,000, $4,000 range building their AR. This guy, everything that you see here ran me about $1,300 to $1,400 when it was all said and done, all put together. And the reason that I went with that is that I felt comfortable as being somebody who reviews firearms and wanting to get into reviewing firearms, kind of the middle of the road. No, it wasn't a $2,000 or $3,000 AR that is just crazy tricked out and ultra light and it just insane, which would be awesome. There's nothing wrong with that. And it wasn't like going out and buying a Ruger 5.56 or an M&P Sport 2 or anything like that. Nothing wrong with the super premium and nothing wrong with the low-end introductory ARs. I want to video and review and test out both, but I wanted something that was a good plumb line for me. So for those of you just wanting a really good quality gun, I think the parts you're going to see here today are fantastic and will last you a lifetime. But I went a little high end on certain things. I cut corners with certain things to kind of get me this middle of the road so that when I review firearms, I can tell, wow, this is a really premium firearm, or wow, this is kind of a subpar, and what to expect by giving me the build that you see here. So for what you're about to see, the average shooter who's going to maybe go out a dozen times in a year and run maybe a couple thousand rounds a year through their firearm, through their AR, this is like more than enough. This would be a great battle rifle, I think, for anyone around the world going into any war zone. I would trust my life to it, and I think having spoken with other people and they've seen the parts and used it, they would say the same, even some with military service. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start jumping into the parts of the firearm. So we're going to go ahead and look here at the upper, and I purchased a full upper, folks. That's what I decided to go with. I didn't want to piecemeal it all out, being my first AR, for two reasons. One, I wanted to get all the same model and the same company, and I wanted something with a warranty so that me, building my very first one, just getting into it, just learning about these firearms, I didn't want to buy every single piece and not have a warranty. So if there was some huge malfunction with the bolt carrier group or something like that, I could send it back and they would, help me and work with me, or maybe even if I had done something, in building it and putting it together wrong, they could either help me with it or whatever. So I decided to go with a full barrel and bolt carrier group. And this is really the heart of your gun. This is literally the thing beating in the chest that makes this thing go. And this is, in my mind, where you definitely do not want to skimp. You want to, if you're going to build something that you want to last a lifetime and run a lot of rounds through, you want something that's going to have some of the features that I'm about to share with you. So what I purchased was the BCM standard 16-inch mid-length, lightweight upper receiver group with BCM KMR Alpha 15 foregrip. That's right here. So we got a key mod, foregrip, all set up together, and really went to town with this, and had this shipped to the house. So this is the part that you can get shipped to the house, and that you can take a look at. Now, the reason, again, going back to how I was planning on, using and deploying the firearm, going with the 16-inch barrel, I wanted a full foregrip, so I had a lot of room because I'm a bigger guy. I have longer arms, so I can get that full reach. I didn't want to be crunched in, and kind of hunkered into the gun, so that I could have full play with the amount of stuff that I wanted to put on there. Now, you do get that Picatinny rail on the top, and then you get those key mods all the way around to attach, which makes it really, really lightweight, which is super nice. So I guess there's been some recent debate about the strength of key mods. Now, for you and me, the average user, we will never, have an issue ripping these out or having problems or anything like that. But I guess there was an independent study, I haven't done a lot of research yet, that was stating that there are some other ways to attach, AR parts and accessories. You have Picatinny rails, and you have a key mod, and you have M-Lock, and I believe there are a couple other ones out there, and that the key mod wasn't quite the strongest out of all the versions out there. For you and me, the average user, and I believe anyone in a war zone, the key mod's going to be just fine, and again, cutting down on weight. I'll probably do an M-Lock foregrip in the future, this forend here, and go that route and just see the differences and see if I like that more. But there's a lot of accessories out there for key mods. They're highly used and highly recommended, and by lots and lots of people. And for the average consumer, you're going to get a lifetime of use and durability out of a foregrip with the key mod system. Now, the compensator that comes on here is good. There's not a whole lot to write home about for me. Now, I mean, this alone, this part is, if you just wanted to put this on a different firearm, is about $90. But what you are getting with this is it's their gunfighter compensator mod 0- 5.56. So that's what goes on here. Now the dimensions are set up in such a way with mil-spec for mounting flash hider mounted suppressors. So that is something to consider there as well. And this is threaded for 1/2 inch by 28 for the 5.56 AR platform. So nice little added bonus there with this design. Now, along with the bolt carrier group that we'll look at here in just a second, I did get the BCM Gunfighter on the right-hand side charging handle, and that also is the Mod 3 version, so that instead of it being just this little T structure here, you have this extra joint with this much larger grip so that you can then pull and charge the firearm much easier. And I like that a lot more than just the little T-grip. That's something that you can, pass on if you want, or that you can add, but I highly recommend it. It's noticeable. I have used some buddies' ARs that don't have any sort of, extended charging handle, and it's noticeably annoying to me, the user. So just something to consider there. Now, some other things that made me go with a BCM, because you might be like, why would you pick a BCM? First off, just like you, this video is a data point for you to help you make a decision. That's why I'm making this video. And prior to buying my own AR and building my own AR, I went out on YouTube and on forums and watched a lot of videos, and I definitely have to give credit where credit is due to people like Nut and Fancy and Scooch and just some of the other guys out there, and seeing what the BCM offered, seeing their data points, and then reading about it, researching it, talking to friends, and looking on forums, I landed on the BCM company as a whole just because of not only the quality that they were producing, but at the price point. There was a good trade-off of not being overly priced, but giving me really high quality parts. And that's some of the things that I want to touch on with you here. The first off is that this is a hammer forged barrel, which is awesome. And this has been, from what I understand, like magnetically tested as well as like x-ray tested, and they do that not in batches but per barrel. A lot of companies will say things similar to that, that has been tested or magnetic, they run a magnet through it and see if there's any like cracks and stuff. I don't know the whole process. I'm sure some of you guys can make comments below and give that to me and give me that data point. But there's a lot of stress testing on the barrels and making sure that they're good. But a lot of companies do that in batches. Maybe they do 100 barrels and they'll take one out at random and test it, or they'll take maybe 500 or 1,000 barrels and they'll do that. Not the case with BCM. They do that with each barrel, which is awesome that they do that, not in batches, so that there's that level of quality there. They do that inspection for every barrel. Now, this is a mid-length gas system as well. And so you see your gas system is right about here on the barrel. Now the barrel has a 1-in-7 twist, which is somewhat lower actually than some of the other rifles that you find out there today. I've seen some with 1-in-8, 1-in-9. But when I did my research and just read up on it, that's what a lot of mil-spec barrels are originally designed with, is 1-in-7, giving you the level of accuracy that you need, again, for short-range accuracy that I decided to build this barrel with. And it's kind of a standard, the 1-in-7 twist, and the MOA that I'm experiencing, I'm very pleased with. Very high accuracy on the barrel, so I'm really digging that a lot. The other thing to note as well, this has a chrome lined chamber and barrel. So in here we've got chrome versus just the hammer forged steel on the inside, and going that route. What that means is that it will handle more grit, more junk, more whatever, with less wear and tear on the gun. It's easier to clean as well. All your GSR, when you're cleaning it all off, and all your gunk and residue and all that, it comes off a lot cleaner. Now, I am shooting this more than probably most people would. The average shooter, it's not a big deal if your barrel is chrome lined and the chamber is chrome lined or not. But for me, what I'm doing and trying to shoot more often than probably the average shooter would, I'm by no means saying I go out to the range daily. That's not the case. We get out about twice a month right now on average for a full day of shooting and testing and all that at the range, and I hope to step that up as time goes on. But the chrome lining is an extra bonus and a nice feature. And then the bolt carrier group itself, right in here, is just a mil-spec bolt carrier group, but has been running awesome and eats up everything. I love that aspect about this gun. I have not had a single jam with it, and I've shot everything from Remington to Federal to American Eagle. We've done Russian ammo, junk, steel, different grains. We've done 55 grain. I've done all the way up to 62 with this guy. Different, all, it just eats it. I don't know how else to say it. Not a jam. We've done reloads from Freedom Munitions. I mean, it goes on and on. I have yet to have a reload, or excuse me, a feeding malfunction, and I'm so happy and so pleased with that. So BCM is definitely, proving their worth to me with the bolt carrier group and the barrel and the, just the feeding and all that this gun would expect. And that's just a quick data point for me that I always look for, is that some guys, they're like, oh, I'll never shoot steel through there, or oh, I'll never shoot, reloads, or I'll never shoot this. That's fine, no problem. For me personally, okay, and I think worst case scenario, that what happens if that's all that's available and, your gun can't cycle steel ammo, crap Russian ammo, made overseas or something like that, or it can't handle a certain weight, of your bullet very well, and you get jams and reloads. Well, then for me, that's not a very reliable gun, and I wouldn't trust it, in a end of world scenario, crap hits the fan scenario, or just, like we've experienced a couple times since I've been into firearms, where ammo gets really tight and whatever you can find, you just grab it. For me, I don't ever have to worry about that. It doesn't matter what type of ammo I grab. I know this thing is going to cycle it. Whereas, maybe there are some firearms out there, some ARs, that can't cycle the certain, rounds of ammo. That's something that I would definitely be concerned with and steer away from. But I can say with certainty, after the amount of rounds, and I believe, I kind of was doing the math, we probably put about 3,500 rounds through this thing at this point, maybe 4,000 through this gun over the year and a couple months that I've had it. So very happy with the cycling and the reliability. And now the shipped price for everything that you see here, the barrel, the bolt carrier group, and the gunfighter charging handle, all of that together, I just checked my records, was $670 sent to the house. So for everything that I got, I was very happy with the overall setup that you see here at a good price point, and going in unison with the lower that we're about to see here, kind of mixing the best of both worlds. Now, obviously, you can go out and buy an M&P or a Ruger for the same price of this Upper without sights or anything else. So that just kind of gives you a plumb line there of quality. All right, let's hit this lower. I went to Spikes Tactical and landed on them for the lower. And again, just like the Upper, I wanted a complete lower. I didn't want to buy the trigger and this part and this part and this part and machine this out and do this and get the buffer tube. I wanted it all done so that if there was an issue or problem, bam, I can just send it back and someone isn't fighting me about oh, well, you didn't put it together right, or you did this wrong, or whatever. So they have lots of different options for lowers down there, and Spikes Tactical has a complete firearms as well, and those run easily $1,500 to $2,000 depending on the firearm you choose. So Spikes is a really good U.S. company making great stuff. The lower is made out of 70, 75 T6 forged, the receiver aluminum, and is really well done. No burrs or issues, just really, really well done in the overall design. Now for me, I went with a version that just had a standard aluminum trigger guard, and we're going to talk about all the extras on furniture here in just a minute, and then a standard polymer handle with just a hollow handle, no trap door on the bottom or anything like that, but it was standard like this, just straight. It wasn't finger grooved out and all that craziness. And then it did not come with the stock, it just had the mil-spec buffer tube, because I knew I was going to upgrade the trigger guard, I was going to upgrade the handle, and I was going to upgrade the stock with the design that I wanted. So I went with that version. That may or may not still be on the website if you want to go that direction. They do have complete lowers with the handle, trigger guards that are large, that are cut out now, and like Magpul furniture on it, Magpul stocks, and I believe those go for like $430, and I paid I believe it was like $370 for the lower that you see here in front of you. So ambidextrous setup, great selectors. The trigger itself is a mil-spec trigger, but it does great. There isn't a lot of travel before you hit the pull. You pull it, it's snappy, it's a mil-spec trigger, but it's on the better end. Having shot some of my other buddies' mil-spec triggers, this is one of the better ones that I've used, and I will be upgrading at some point in the future. Now they do use a Type 3 Class 2 hard coat anodized finish on here as well, and I've seen great wear resistance with all the use that I have been putting this through. It's going to have everything that you need. You know, you got your castle nut, you've got your 17-7 stainless buffer spring, you know, that's a mil-spec spring, and all the aspects that you would be looking for. And they have lots of cool laser engravings. This one happens to be the honey badger. You know, they got pirate logos, they got Spartans, they got, I think, American flags and spiders. I mean, they got the whole 9 yards there. And so that is just a cool way to kind of express your personality in a little bit of a different way. And again, getting a great overall lower sent to you. All right, your sights and your optics. This will make or break the gun, honestly, because it's pretty insane how much optics and sights and everything can cost you. Now, like a lot of people, I was trying to keep it within budget, but giving me something good, you know, and I didn't want to go with an A2 front sight in the design. That was just me for this initial build. I will probably eventually purchase and or build one with an A2 sight just to see the differences, but I just wanted a more low profile streamlined firearm. So what I decided to go with was the Magpul MBUS sights, pop-up sights front and back. You know, they have lots of different color combinations out there. The entire kit, and we'll have links in the description below over to Amazon. This is going to run you about $80 to $90 for the entire set. The front one, or the rear ones, I think are 40, and the front ones are like 35, you know, or something like that, or, you know, 45. It just kind of floats in there. Again, links below. But I love that you can totally lay them down if you need to, and particularly if you are running an optic. That's the positive. They're super ultra lightweight, which is awesome, and that is something I just want to touch on. I wanted to keep the gun super lightweight, and so this guy with the optics, everything you see here, so the dry weight, basically everything, including the mags, except for, you know, ammunition in the mag. This guy is running in at just about 7.5 pounds overall weight with the optic, with everything. So ultra lightweight firearm, which is what I was looking for as well. And so the MBUS sights help with that because they're all polymer. They're easy to dial in, and I ran these with just iron sights for about almost a year before I put the red dot on there that we'll get to here in just a second. So that's all the positive. The one negative that I want to touch on is that, you know, just with the way the sights are set up, it's black on black. Now, the front post you can change out. There are some options out there to change out and, you know, add ones that have, you know, true glow, or you can put, you know, white nail polish on it. I mean, there's 100 different things you can try and do there, but it is a black peephole sight, and then it is a black post. So, you know, in a run and gun situation, you know, if you're sitting there on the table shooting, you know, from a rested position, not a big deal. But, you know, run and gun, which is what we do a lot of, and that's a real world scenario, you know, that this could be needing to be used in. It does take an extra second for me to dial in sometimes where the sights are lining up because it's black on black. I would have liked to see a little bit better contrast. Next up is the Vortex Spark. Now, we've been running this for a pretty short period of time, but so far been totally loving it. I purchased one, my brother purchased one for his AR that he did a build on, and we're both loving it. Now, we will do a comprehensive video on that in the near future, but the reason that I went with the Spark, a couple things. One, $200 flat, Amazon, easy all day long. That's why I purchased it from. Links below. So great price point. Vortex is known in the industry for making great value to performance. They have a great lifetime warranty, so you never have to worry about the warranty. They're basically like, throw it up against a wall, doesn't matter, we'll replace it no matter what. So no questions asked. So great warranty. There's some awesome, you know, like torture tests out there of guys, you know, just totally destroying these things and they still run. So the operation is awesome. And again, going red dot, I was really weighing, should I go with kind of a lower magnification optic, or should I go with a red dot, and just going back and forth, back and forth. And for me, again, in the system that I built this for, and where I use this firearm, I'm using this in areas where I don't have, you know, 500 yards, 600 yards to shoot in more often than not. I am training, practicing, honing my skills in 200 yards or less. So I wanted something that I could easily get on target for that range, and for that range, this thing rocks. Now, if you want more distance, awesome, put a bigger optic on there. We will build some guns in the future with longer and bigger barrels and, you know, heavier optics with better magnification, probably in 308, and going down that route. So that's the reason that I opted for the red dot, and again, going with all the things that we talked about. Some just basic specs real quick for you guys is that with this thing, again, it's super lightweight. It's like 5.9 ounces. So ultra light, helping this gun again come in well over under 8 pounds, even under 7.5 pounds, which is just phenomenal, you know, for this firearm, which is just fantastic. So it's parallax free, which is awesome. You know, so you just bam, you get it on target and you're good to go. And then you know, the one MOA adjustment graduation is awesome. And then there's a lot of other aspects to it as well, but zero magnification, and there's a good brightness as well. It uses a basic battery. It has, you know, a shut off time. It has all those things that, you know, like if you leave it on by mistake, it'll shut off on its own. You know, it's got all the adjustments that you need, brightness, and, you know, all of that you would be looking for, and gives me the option as well with my pop-up sights to pop this guy down, leave my front sight down here popped up. My red dot is just floating above that. I just focus on my red dot, and then at any time, if for some reason I lost my sight and, you know, the battery went out, the optic went totally off, you know, whatever the issue may be, then it would be it's easy for me, I've tested it out, to be able to just keep looking through the optic and getting on the front post and get a general body shot, which is awesome that it has just all of those features working in unison to give me the best, not only bang for buck, the best, you know, eyes on target as fast as I can, target acquisition, but also giving a backup if I ever run out of battery juice or have an issue with this optic. I can still look right through it, get on target with my pop-up in the front, and I leave it up all the time and still hit my target. So I love that aspect of this Spark 2 and just red dots in general for a short-range battle rifle concept. All right, let's go ahead and talk about magazines as well as furniture on this firearm and what I chose. The magazine portion I want to touch on with you. There's so many different mags, you know, companies out there. So I did some research, watched some videos, and purchased for my regular usage the Lancer L5AWM magazines. Now what these are lightweight polymer coming in at 3.5 ounces, so ultra lightweight, but the nice thing is that they have aluminum lips, so these lips just tend to seat inside the firearm a little bit better than just the all polymer like PMags and that type of thing. There's nothing wrong with PMags. If you're rocking PMags, don't, you know, dump them and go out and buy a bunch of Lancers. I'm not saying that, but these just seem to sit a little bit better. You know, it's aluminum on the, you know, aluminum lower that we're looking at, you know, with the machine 70, 75, you know, and they just connect better in my opinion. There's just a little bit of a better seating, and overall that lip will last a little bit longer than a polymer one would that would possibly flex, break, chip over a very long period of time. Again, I know PMags are super durable and reliable, but that is something that I wanted to touch on. I picked these up, I think, for like 16 bucks is what I paid per, you know, mag, and that's what you see me using throughout the entire thing. And I'll have links in the description below over to the Lancer website, because now they're even, particularly for the 223, 5.56 calibers, they're rocking everything from 5 round mags all the way up to your average 30s and even larger. So they have lots of options, lots of color combinations, lightweight, durable, great feeding. Again, we talked about that earlier. I never had any feeding issues, and really digging that capability with these Lancer mags, and they just seem to connect with me and fit a little bit better than the all polymer mags that are out there. Now, I used a different foregrip for a little while, and I wasn't really happy with that. Landed on this one, been digging it. Again, really low profile, and it gives me the ability, you know, to get my hand right up in there. It's just basically a hand stop, and then I'm able to rest my thumb right below the sight, giving it, you know, that positive connection on both fronts. So if I'm transitioning from pistol to rifle and back, I can grab it, and I have a point of reference for my hand and just be able to pull the whole firearm up against my shoulder in a really nice way. So this is the BCM KAG, and, you know, this is going to run you about 20 bucks, and again, just really ultra lightweight, connects right into those key mods, and you are good to go. So really digging that as a lightweight foregrip option. Something to consider, you know, when you are choosing a foregrip. You know, you don't have to pick any of these items I'm suggesting to you. I'm just showing you, you know, my data point, what works for me, is that if you go with the ones that are super long and, you know, really extended, that it's actually not a positive connection, and you're actually going to lose accuracy if you try gripping them, you know, down and you're trying to work with that. Putting your hand here as far forward as possible on the barrel is the best way to get the most accuracy out of your firearm, particularly, you know, if you're like gripping back here. Unless you're using like an SBR, you're not going to get the accuracy that you're wanting with that straight up and down grip versus some sort of an angled grip. And using the foregrip more as a stop and more as a positive, retention point to push into your shoulder than for something to try and hold and aim the front end of the gun is what I've found. And you'll see that with a lot of discussions and people talking about accuracy and keeping that barrel accurate and on target. Okay, so we went with a Magpul trigger guard right here. It was like, $8, Amazon, all the color combinations that, you could choose from. Just giving you that extra little bit of space that you need, because the straight across ones that most companies are trying to go away from, but, they're still out there. When I purchased this, it just had a straight across, aluminum trigger guard, that just doesn't give you quite the space you need, particularly if you're shooting with gloves and that type of thing. So this will give you just a little bit more to work with. Now the pistol grip that I decided to go with was the Magpul K2 grip. Now there are two different versions. One is just like a hard polymer. This K2 version that Magpul makes is a little bit more, warm to the touch. It's just a straight down with some ribbing front and back. It doesn't have any sort of humps that you got to worry about where your fingers are. I just don't like those type of ergonomics, regardless if it's on my knives, which is what we're really known for over here at the channel, or for my firearms. I'd rather have something that's nice and straight, and then I can decide where my fingers are gonna go. And so that gives that to me, and it's got a little bit of a rubber texture. It's not like a hard polymer feel to it, but it's still reinforced with that hard polymer underneath. And then we do have a little trap door right here, which works fantastic for me to not only carry a couple little tools for not only my front sight tool, but then a couple Allen wrenches to adjust the red dot if I had to, and to carry a spare battery for the red dot as well. You just wrap that in a Ziploc bag, stuff it up in there. It's not going anywhere. It doesn't rattle around, doesn't make any noise, and we're good to go. So the stock I decided to go with, again, going with that ultralight feel, is the Mission First Tactical stock. These guys are gonna run you about $50. I guess I'm seeing some knockoffs as I'm looking like on eBay and stuff for like 25. So you should be paying between $40 and $55, just depending on who, what, when, where, why, color combinations, all of that for these stocks. And they do have a version that also has a braided piece of paracord that runs right here, giving that connection that will run you a few dollars more. But I mean, this comes in at 6 ounces. That's why I purchased this. That's why I went with this, because it's extremely low profile, again, going with the whole thought of the gun and going with the use. Now, I have heard some complaints of certain people not liking it because this hook will catch on gear and that type of thing. Now, I totally understand that. You have to decide if that's what you're looking for or not. Right now in my system, it works great. It's a 5.56 223 round. This isn't going to be heavy duty at all in the recoil, and so this pad works fantastic. We got a rubber pad back here. We got the attachment rings here for my sling, as well as other attachment points, just depending on how you want to run different slings and attachments that way. A nice little lever here to adjust. It is rather tight on my stock. I really got to kind of like hammer on this thing to get it to lock into place into the position that I want, which is a good thing. It's not rattling around. It's really nice and snug on there, which I like. So that's a great option for those of you, again, looking for that lightweight build. Now, the key mod that I bought does come with one attachment for the key mod rail for your sling. There are 1,000 slings out there. The one that I rock is because not only the performance of, again, being thin, lightweight, but this one is wrapped with a bunch of paracord on there. It is made in the US, which is awesome as well, by a buddy of mine, Jacob Peterson. He runs the Preppers Bunker Outdoors YouTube channel, and then he makes some stuff on the side. He's a vet, and just really an awesome guy. I got to meet him at SHOT Show and have talked to him, on the phone and online a couple times, and he makes these and, puts these together, and I really like them. I run them on my shotgun, on my AR, and I will have links in the description below, and that's a great way to support a USA-made product that's being produced by, a vet. Well, there you have it. That's the pros, the cons of this very first build that I've done. Overall, I am super happy with this first build. So sure, there are some things now with some prior knowledge that I maybe would like to tweak. Maybe I would have gone with an M-Tech, or excuse me, an M-Lock, forend, things like that. But those are just slight tweaks that I will do probably in the future when I build more than one AR. So I'm definitely gonna build another one here shortly. So guys, totally digging it. Love these parts and the parts that you've seen that I recommend to you. I think if you build one of those, you'll have an AR that will last you a lifetime and that you will love shooting. So thank you so much for coming over here, checking out the channel. Please subscribe, comment, like, share this video. Love to hear your guys' thoughts. Any questions you have about this build, I'll answer in the comments below. And always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and we'll see you out there.